I know what that means.
Who's here? We don't have Colts. We don't have Chad Kelly. We have nothing, but we have Stephen Holder. Going indoors today, Stephen Holder. Don't bother coming out over to the booth today.
I heard that. So the chicken, is he going to follow us over there or what? I mean,
are you worried about the chicken? You know which chicken we're talking about, right?
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about Z chicken, right? I mean,
I've only seen one chicken, but he's here every day.
He stalks you, man. I mean,
no, he's a chicken. He does not stalk you. I walked within a foot of him this morning on the way out here. He just kind of turned and moved out of the way. That's it.
I think we're the only training camp in the NFL that has a straight chicken walking around. I am pretty sure about that.
We are backed up to the north field. You got the goalpost. You got one of those risers that they film the practice on behind that. Yep. And then about 15 yards behind that, there's somebody's farm. That doesn't happen everywhere.
No, it's uniquely Indiana. There's no question.
Hey, that being said, though, Stephen, your buddy's coming in from Cleveland. I heard it was a week or two ago when we did obviously we've had this thing set for longer than that, but they were excited, and there are a lot of teams that are excited when they see this setup out here. A lot of them are scratching their heads saying, "Man, that's a pretty nice setup y'all got."
It really is ideal. I mean, the Colts. They've got it made out there. There's no question. I mean, it's not so much just the field. I mean, the field's a field, right? But it's more so the setup in the field house, if you want to call it that. It's much more than a field house, obviously, where they're headquartered during training camp. I mean, they've got basically access to, I believe, 3 indoor fields in there. It's amazing. If you've never been in there, just if there's an event going on, your kids are playing or something, man, get up there. It's unbelievable. And I guess the first 500 will get to go in there today because they can only accommodate so many. But really, that setup in there is what makes it ideal. They've got their meeting rooms in there. Coaches got offices and so forth. So that, and then the hotel accommodations literally on the grounds of Grand Park. So, I mean, you could basically ride around in a golf cart for 3 weeks and never even need a car. It really is ideal.
Yeah, I was talking to Anthony Costanzo about this yesterday, and he said this is a sweet setup, man. Because all the other places they've been to in his tenure, whether it was even at the Colts facility or up at Anderson or anything else, this is the place, man. This is how it's been going on. So they got that going on. We talked to Kevin Bowen about this a second ago, Stephen, and Stephen Holder joins us. He writes for The Athletic, and he's been really good to us the entire camp here with good info. Yesterday, like on the field, not doing anything, I saw Andrew Luck, I saw Paris Campbell, but they're still not really doing anything. So, Kevin wasn't quite sure what that was all about. What have you been able to learn about who's practicing, who's not, and what it means?
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys dealing with minor stuff at the moment. Obviously, the Andrew Luck situation is much more prolonged. But Paris Campbell, you mentioned him. We think he's close, and they really need Paris Campbell to get out there because I think he's got an opportunity to be an important part of the offense. So it'd be nice to have him out there at some point so he can get some run before the regular season starts. I mean, the Colts need to see what he can provide and what he can bring and how big, I guess, of a role he can handle. And the only way to do that is for him to practice. So they've got to get him out there at some point. There are some other guys. Eric Ebron, I saw him yesterday, and he kind of rolled his eyes that he'd be fine. So I don't think there's a big issue there. I think they'll have most of their guys, or they're getting most of their guys back. They've got Ben Vandergoo got back, so that's a good thing. They're starting to get some guys back. So it's all positive. Most of those injuries not of the major variety.
All right, Stephen, we've been talking a lot about that wide receiving competition that's going on.
Yeah.
If Paris Campbell goes a little bit longer here, could you see him maybe as an IR guy and Reese and Dion and Marcus and Krishan, these guys that have been out here and doing a really, really good job? You'd rather go with the devil right?
Well, I don't see Paris Campbell as an IR candidate. I don't anticipate that at all. I think he's going to get back. They expect him to get back. So I wouldn't go there. I think he's going to be fine. It's more for me a matter of, where is he at when he comes back? And is he ready to go in terms of, being that big piece of the offense that it looked like he was going to be? Because certainly if OTAs are any indication, they have plans for this guy, and I think the first week of training camp as well. So that's really more the question there. But I do think that wide receiver group, that has become, and I'm not surprised by this, but that has become one of the most interesting units in this camp with the way that Reese Fountain has come on. You know, there's guys like Krishawn Hogan coming on. That group right there, I think, is really going to make things interesting over the next 3 weeks.
I like what they're doing with the running back situation, too. What you saw out of Jonathan and what you saw out of Aka Cedric, and we haven't even seen Dante yet. What are you thinking when it comes to this competition, everybody kind of trying to line up behind Mac?
Yeah, well, they're definitely trying to bring a different brand of running back in there. I mean, those guys kind of have one thing in common, and they're all really physical runners. And I think that's where the void has been. You look at the acquisition over the summer of Spencer Ware, and they were kind of going for that there, I believe, right? So they're looking for different profiles. If you look at their running backs last year, they all had different sort of strengths, right? Marlon Mack is an explosive guy. Nyheim Hines is the scat back, the third down guy. And then you've got certainly you had, I should say, Jordan Wilkins, who could, who had the ability to be a little bit more of a physical runner. So I think they're really just trying to mix it up. They're trying to find different profiles. If you know anything about Frank Reich, we know that he likes to, he's like a guy who likes to have certain types of fits, right? All of his tight ends, for example, they were all sort of different, right? Eric Ebron's different than Jack Doyle, et cetera. And so I think he likes that because it gives him an opportunity to put guys in different roles and fit certain play calls and what have you. And that is the way Frank Reich likes to call plays and likes to execute his offense.
Harold, you're working on something about Kenny Moore. What's going on with the secondary guy?
So just posted a story that I think people will learn from. And what I realized is that, look, I covered Ronde Barber for 8 years in Tampa Bay. I talk about that a lot, or Tampa Bay a lot. And the one thing I benefited from there was this was the exact same scheme the Colts played. Or excuse me, the Bucks. The Bucks played the exact same defense the Colts are currently playing. And so I called Ronde. We talked about what it takes to play slot corner in this defense because the Colts have impressed upon me that, look, the reason we extended Kenny Moore is because you have to have a really specific guy to play the slot in this defense. And I had Ronde explain to me what that role is, and he's such a good communicator that he just killed it. It was a great experiment to get that first-hand explanation from a guy who might be in the Hall of Fame one day. So I just posted that story. It's on my Twitter. Please check it out. What I learned from this story is that, damn, Kenny Moore is the fit. He's the right guy for this. And there's a reason they gave him $33 million because, look, any old guy can play a slot corner, but that's not what Kenny Moore is.
I like, too, that, Chris Ballard is willing to go away. He has a stature he's looking for. He likes a tall, lean, kind of defensive back. Kenny doesn't fit any of that, but Kenny has the heart thing, and that is priority number one when it comes to any football player is to be able to play with the heart that he plays with.
That's right, and I talked to Darius Leonard about that. And, look, Darius plays right next to Kenny in the nickel defense because he's in that slot, and Darius is standing there, right between the guard or right between the nose tackle and three tech sometimes. So, they're right next to each other oftentimes. And Kenny has Darius has a first-hand view, a front row seat for what Kenny Moore deals with. But it was very interesting. Ronde said that, look, he was undersized too, and that was another reason I thought there were parallels. Ronde played at 185 pounds, right? And he talked about how that played to his strength sometimes because he could kind of dart through the trash down there and go make a tackle without the guard being able to come down and smash him. So it was very interesting and very educational for me.
Stephen Holder, The Athletic, joining us here on the Fan Morning Show on the Payless Liquors hotline. They've moved the practice indoor today, and then they're going to be off tomorrow, and then the Browns come back for a couple of days. Is it just the reason to move indoors, whether there might or might not be weather? Is that just a safety thing? What's going on? Because it seems to me like you would want at least once during training camp to get guys used to the elements a little bit if it rained or got windy, wouldn't you?
Well,
does that even help? Does it matter?
Yeah, you can make that argument, but what I find is they just don't do it. they don't take the chance. I mean, they never have. I mean, even back at Anderson when they didn't have really an indoor field, they would just go do a walkthrough in the gym, which was just very standard arrangement. But that's what they did because that's all they could. I don't know. I was caught off guard by this. I didn't expect them to be going inside today, so I'll be interested to hear what the rationale is. I didn't expect there to be rain, so I'm not a weatherman, so I'm not sure where that stands. But I'm a little caught off guard by that. I'm not sure why they're going inside.
All right. From what you saw on Thursday, where do you expect the biggest improvement to be? Not only Wednesday, Thursday out here, but Saturday's game.
Yeah. Well, it would be nice if they could get the full offensive line out there, and there's a good chance they can, because they've gotten Ryan Kelly back. That's another one. You were talking about injuries earlier. Well, Ryan Kelly's back out there. That's always a positive. Certainly, Costanzo getting some run would be good, and I expect that he will, most likely. And look, it's going to be a good matchup for them because you've got a Browns defensive line that has some talent out there. So I think people talk about the Browns offense. That Browns defense is probably, at least up front, is underrated, I think. So we'll see what they pose, what kind of challenge they pose. But that, I think, is a big key. Let's see if they can get that offensive line intact, see if they can get the running game going a little bit. I mean, look, Frank Reich's been the one talking about it, right? He's the one that wants to see the running game going, so let's see the running game, right? Where is it? So those are two of the things that I want to see. Can they do that? And then I just want to see the continued competition at wide receiver. So far, so good, and I think those guys are out there trying to get something done, trying to make the squad. If that continues, that is going to be, as I said earlier, a really fierce competition at wide receiver.
All right, Stephen, hope you can brave the cooler temperatures and cloudy conditions to get to the indoor practice facility today. If you get there, I'll meet you there.
Hey, as I'm driving, I just talked about there being rain. We're getting a little rain here on the north side, so I don't know. 96th Street up here, so it's a little wet, a little damp, so maybe it's that.
Take care of yourself.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Stephen.
Stephen Holder from The Athletic joining us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. I don't